say something so I make sure the level is the same.
Check, mic check, mic check.
All right, it looks like we're good. So, hello, I'm Mike Hinton, Zoe Hinton's dad, and I'm here with Sal. You want to introduce yourself?
I'm Sal Perales. I am Lizzy Perales' dad.
So we were thinking to do a 2-year anniversary episode, which I think we're off on the days now, just because of life getting in the way. But 2-year anniversary of the girls' show is in October, so we almost made it.
We're pretty close. Okay.
Yeah. So, like, I was thinking we could start out. Well, first off, if you're listening now, this is the only podcast you'll hear us without the girls. We kind of snuck this in. I'm sure Zoe probably knows by now, but I don't think she does. She's downstairs. Snuck this in at least on my end, but I'm sure Sal's the same way. It's kind of like a thank you note to them for, it does seem to be hard work sometimes just getting the schedules down.
Yeah.
We're getting better at the East Coast, West Coast time, though. Because I know for a while we were confused on that.
Yeah, and the kids with school and everything, so even the kids' schedules are a little bit difficult to match as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, my girls, I'm surprised they get it all done. It's much more different than when I was a kid. We just kind of ate food and ran around.
Yeah, definitely.
So I thought we'd start with just the couple parts. The reason I thought of this, and Sal is like my go-to person for helping me with the girls' stuff, is everyone always asks about, just raising our kids with Star Wars. And Sal you're as far away from me as anyone I know, but you're one of the only people I know that kind of raised their kid right with Star Wars. So I thought maybe we'd begin with that before we even get to the podcast.
Yeah, definitely.
So how did you introduce your kids, mainly Lizzy, because it's our podcast that we're talking about, but both your kids, how'd you get them introduced to Star Wars?
Well, with Lizzy, Lizzy was already a little bit over 1 when I met her. So when I started, watching her and hanging out with her and that kind of thing, it was like the only thing that I could even show her, going through my, I can put on a movie, and then going through my films, I'm like, well, I can't show her The Ring, and I can't show her, this, so it was really like, okay, well, I can show her Star Wars, and I can show her recordings I have made of myself playing Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy. And that was, the beginning, because I didn't have any cartoons, that was basically it. So, and then when, once we started doing Christmas presents and things like that, I was really good back then about buying her every Disney movie that came out. But she wasn't huge on dolls. She didn't really play with dolls, like the princess dolls. And
right.
I was always more hey, I'll just buy her I'll buy her a Snow White and a Belle. And I did, and she'd play with them once or twice, and then it would just sit there. So she didn't really play with dolls in the same way that the other kids play with dolls. And I didn't really want to buy her Barbies because I'm like, it's the same Barbie.
Right.
I'd go and I'd look at the Barbies, and it would be like Barbie in a bikini, Barbie with a briefcase, Barbie, so I felt like, well, at least the character of Belle is something that she might relate to because she seems to like the movie, and the character of Jasmine. So then I started buying. She did watch the Clone Wars and Star Wars with me all the time. So I was like, at the time, those Galactic Heroes toys were out.
Yeah, my girls. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a big toy collector myself. I have the books and I have the comics and I have my Star Wars things, but I don't really have a really big collection of vintage figures or Power of the Force or anything.
Right.
I don't. There's not really a place in my house to just set up a whole bunch of characters and toys. So I was like, well, let me buy these little kid toys, and if she likes them, I'll buy them more. And if that's cool because it's 2 for back then they were $5.99.
Yeah.
It was really cheap, and they look kind of cute, and she couldn't choke or lose any pieces. So I think the first thing I bought her was the Falcon. I just went for the big one. I was like, well, I'll just buy her the Falcon, and if she doesn't dig it, it was for Christmas or something like that. Bought her the Falcon, and it made noises, and it had Chewie, and it had everybody, and she had with it. Okay, well, I'll just keep buying these. These will be her little treats, So I kept buying them and kept buying them, and they kept coming out with more and more. It's like a pretty, like we have almost all of those things. I think we're missing that Y-Wing.
Oh,
We never
okay.
got the Y-Wing set that came out, and a few things like that. But that was her toys that she would play with. And she would like set up, like, she probably denies this now, but I would walk in and she would be like cooking with them, because she also had a little set of like dishes,
Right.
like cook pots and things like that. So she would like throw them in as ingredients and like stir them up and then put them on plates or put them in cups. Hey, let's have a tea party, and they would be the food.
Well, that could be your next cookbook too. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, but also she would like set them up as characters sometimes. She would be like, oh, look, like here's a wedding. And, like everybody would be lined up like it was a wedding. And like Han and Leia would be at the front getting married by, I don't know, like old Obi-Wan Kenobi or something. So, it was funny and it was cute. And she would play with him in a lot of different ways. And then when Axel came along, it was the same kind of thing. He just kind of picked everything up. She already had most of the toys, but I kept buying them and they kept playing with him. So I think that's really how they like were introduced to Star Wars.
Yeah, that's probably a better way, because my girls, when I used to, I had a bunch of toys from when I was a kid, and they didn't like them because the vintage ones were kind of lame, especially you think they're really cool, and then you get out that Stormtrooper and you're like, oh man, that's really not that nice looking toy. So I wound up selling them and getting them action figures, but those ones that came out with the Clone Wars, like every piece just broke off.
Mm-hmm.
So I wish I would have went with they had some of the little guys, what do they call it? The Galactic Heroes.
Yeah.
But around here they were so hard to get. Like it would be, you could find like a whole bunch of Vaders, but nothing else. Like, and the ships were,
right.
The toys, I guess. Yeah, the toys got it, and then Zoe, with me, we would watch the Clone Wars. And because the main thing I remember is I think it was on Friday nights when it first came.
Yeah.
And a couple times she couldn't stay up late or something, because we didn't really watch, like we didn't really have like a set time to watch TV for anything else. We had DVR, but that seemed like to be the thing. But I remember the Grievous Lair episode. I watched it ahead of time, and I was like contemplating, like, man, this might be too scary. For her, because I think the Padawan died in it and stuff, and anyone that listens to the show knows Zoe cries at the drop of a hat, and she wasn't any different. So
we did the same thing. We would watch them on Friday nights, but I wouldn't really. I would watch it, like, we didn't have DVR or anything, but we had cable, and it was always at 9:00. Like, it's always Star Wars Rebels, same thing. Like, it's always been in that weird 9:00 slot.
Right.
Where, like, when they're little kids, I'm like, man, these little kids don't stay up that late. Like, and then they're tired by the time, it comes on. On Friday nights, it wasn't so bad because they could literally watch it and then, stay up to 10 o'clock or whatever on the weekend. But when it was, like, Rebels would win all over. Rebels was, like, Wednesdays for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't it go to, like, Sundays, and now it's on a Monday night, so.
Yeah, when it first started, like, you needed the app. Like, you had to have the app, and then you saw it a week ahead of time, and... well, Zoe tried to stay up when the two new ones came out, not this past week, but the week before. She stayed up. She's like, I'm staying up, and then she wound up falling asleep at like 11:30.
Oh, so, like to try to see the 12:30, because it drops on the app at like midnight, right?
Yeah. Because I think she's got this reputation at school as a Star Wars girl, so she worries that someone's going to out Star Wars her or something. So.
Yeah.
But, well, that's so, yeah, I know, like, at least until I joined the 501st, Star Wars was always there, but it wasn't, I think the 501st and all of that has basically made it more part of our family.
Right.
Like, people I work with don't understand when I'm talking about, like, yeah, we have a costuming budget. They look at you like,
Yeah. No, when we did Saber Guild was the first group that we joined. But, eventually, kind of branching out, that's sort of how it became a little bit more part of our lives. And that's sort of how we came upon the whole Rebels thing.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
A little bit that way.
Well, that's what brought me, so that's almost leads into, like, my next thing before we even get to how the girls started their podcast was Zoe wanted to do Sabine. So she was a happy Jawa. and we made a few, like we made an Ahsoka costume. But then when those shorts came out, she wanted Sabine, and I had only ever really costumed wise, I'd only built a TK, which the TK is probably the easiest of the costumes because you can mess up a lot and it still looks pretty good. And so
it's difficult in the fact that that's like you're building a full armor kit. But the thing about a TK, the thing about these costumes it makes it more difficult for us is a lot of times like we have to create, like a TK, you can order a TK from, somebody that knows somebody that makes a TK kit and they send you the kit and you have to build and it's hard. But, like we had to make the armor for Sabine and we had to figure out how we were going to do the helmet or whatever it is. Or like you're doing Ketsu now.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's not having those, like you almost literally have to do it all by yourself. Like now there's people that are making Sabine helmets and they're really, really good.
Right.
But back when we started it, it's like, what are you going to do? Okay, well, there's one guy that's making it. So
this is what we get.
Okay, I got a helmet. Now what?
Because that's what I think. I had printed out pictures of your wife in Sabine costume all over my garage. And I had pictures of the cartoon. And I was like measuring like, okay, the blaster has to be this long compared to her hand. And like I was doing all this stuff. And that's what it just seems like forever ago, but that's what really like I think when Rebels hit, because it was kind of new, like it was even different in the Clone Wars because it had a different it had a different feel to it, but it had that family feel to it. Yeah, and so I think like that's your family. Everyone knows the Rogue Rebels and stuff like that, but like my family, we don't really have a cool. Rebels aren't really liked in my house. We're the Imperial house here. That's like the ongoing family feud here.
Yeah.
But I mean, it kind of brought us together in a weird way.
Yeah, I think I remember like the original, because what we started doing was once me and Liz were doing it, we were doing Kanan and Sabine at first, because before they switched, it was Kanan and Sabine. And then I think once we read like A New Dawn, we realized like, oh, we really got to switch this up. And then the show started, but it was like the act of trying to build Liz's Hera. It took a while to switch Lizzie over from Hera to Sabine. But Lizzie was ready to go in Sabine day one. Like she wanted Sabine also.
Right.
She ended up in Hera because Mom called it. But it doesn't matter because she always gets Mom's hands-me-downs anyway. Like now, every now and then she puts on Rey, Like,
yeah.
That's the good thing, But I think I remember you sending me a message, hey, somebody you don't know sent, and I would put up build albums.
Right, yeah.
To try to get us approved, because they would be like, oh, we can't approve you because we don't have the references and we don't have the CRLs. And I would be like, well, here's what it is, and here's the references that I've collected, and here's what we're doing. And there were, the clubs give you a little kickback. I think it's a little bit better now, but this was like before new Star Wars was coming out every day, every year.
Right.
They were still in that place of like, whoa, hold on. Like, you guys are making a new costume from this new show that hasn't even come out yet? And we were like, yeah. So there was real, like, the approval process was a lot slower back then. Yeah.
Well, and it's kind of weird. The premiere, we saw it at the movies. For Zoe, it was her next to last troop as a Jawa. Like, because I had no way of getting that Sabine done, because I think there was like a waiting list for the helmet.
Right.
I forget who was making a helmet, but there was a waiting list for the helmet, and I knew the helmet I couldn't conquer myself. Because at first I was just going to buy like a Kenner Boba Fett helmet, and then I was like, oh, that's going to be 10 times more work for a crappier helmet.
Yeah. I had a friend, and I remember saying like, hey, like, do you think you could maybe help me out with this? And he just wasn't really interested. He was doing his own kind of thing. And so my other friend was like, hey, look, like, get the helmet, and, I can help you out with, like, assembly and stuff, because I'd never done anything like that, so I didn't really know, I hadn't done the visor trimming or anything.
Right.
And then the helmet came in, and I just remember seeing the helmet being like, oh, okay, like, once I paint it, it looks better, or, and I sent my friend a picture, like, hey, this is what it looks like, is this, and he was like, all right, dude, let me help you. And he, like, helped me clean it up, and, like fill and sand where it needed filling and sanding, and the assembly and the visor and everything. So that was like a really, really good thing to have help with, like building a helmet the first time.
Yeah, I didn't have because I don't have any Mandos around here or anything. you know. And then, you know, just like you said with the kickback, when I was talking to the 500 First guys, hey, who can they looked at me like, because a lot of the guys don't watch any of the cartoons back then,
right?
You know, like, what, a cartoon, you know. So but yeah, that's what led us. So for Zoe, like, I used to teach podcasting. It's funny because, and I'm sure my boss doesn't listen to the podcast, basically everything I taught in podcasting is 100% wrong. Because, like, I used to try to get Zoe to do a podcast when she was little. I said, because she just used to talk. The kid used to just like, I think she came out talking and just kept talking, you know. When she was little, we would just go around the grocery store and she'd just be talking to people, you know. And so, you know, I was like, oh, you should do a podcast. And I kept bugging her. And then there were some guys here, and I said, oh, look, let's try it. And back, I think the first podcast, I actually literally had a computer sitting next to the other computer and recording over open air, because I just didn't have it, you know. And it didn't really sound right. And then I think she did an all girls panel, and I was just like sending emails out to anyone. I think I sent one to you to get Lizzy on. And that's when I think the podcast started. Like, it was, I think Zoe and Lizzy went up talking for like 4 or 5 hours or something, like not podcast related. And
they
then
recorded for like a good 2 hours. They were like, no, we're just talking. And I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
And then they just didn't come downstairs for 2 or 3 hours after the podcast. And they were like, well, we're basically best friends now.
Yeah. And so that's like I want people to know, because like for them, you know, like, I think for at least on this end, like, Zoe it's the first person I think that's gotten Zoe at 100%, because she doesn't have many friends that are like Star Wars fans. And then the ones she does have, they're like, you know, I don't want to like gatekeep fandom, but they're like, oh yeah, I saw the movies, you know, where they come into our house and there's armor and lightsabers and, you know.
Yeah, definitely. There's like, I think that Zoe has kind of helped Lizzy become more passionate about it, because Lizzy was like into it and she loved Rebels and she liked Star Wars and stuff, but it was just like, okay, cool, like, I dress up on the weekends with my family, and like, she was probably more of a fan than any, you know, the normal people that just watch the movies, but at the same time she wasn't thinking on it the way that Zoe was. And when I told her, I said, hey, there's this like little girl who, you know, like, I think her dad hit me up and asked for help about armor, you know, and I sent him to my build thread, and, you know, so she's doing a costume like you know, and they got their costume done, so she wants to talk to you so she can talk to another Sabine. And she was like, oh, like what? Like a podcast? And she's like, oh, that's that thing that you do and you don't shut up for a couple of hours. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much it. And then she was like, yeah, okay, I'll do it. But I didn't know how old Zoe was.
Uh-huh.
I kept describing her. I was like, yeah, it's a little girl, because they're all little girls. Like, even Lizzy was a little girl.
Right.
But when I described that to Lizzy was picturing, like, you know, 8-year-old,
yeah,
8-year-old, 9-year-old, and she's like, yeah, sure, I'll talk to a little girl, you know. And then I think she kept asking me how old she was, and I was like, I don't know, I think she's, you know, I think she's young. And then I was like, I think I had asked you, and I was like, oh, I think she's about your age, maybe she's a little bit older. And then she started getting nervous, because for some reason she was like nervous talking to a kid her own age.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
And then,
Oh, go ahead. No, I'm sorry.
The time, like, I think I figured out her age, and I was like, oh yeah, she's 1 year older than you. By the time I figured it out, and then she turned into like, oh my gosh, like, no, I can't talk to her. She's like gonna be older than me and cooler than me and this than me, and like, she became so nervous. And I was like, dude, you already said you were gonna do it. Just do it. You're talking. It doesn't matter how old they are. They're on the other end of the country, and you're talking into a microphone. So, calm down, you know. And she was so nervous going into it. She didn't know what she was gonna say to this older girl who was which is apparently the worst thing ever.
Yeah, right.
You know, and then, like I said, they just talked for 5-6 hours.
Yeah, it's and I think on Zoe's end, I think it was just like you said, it helped Lizzy's fandom. I think it helped Zoe's in the sense that I think it made her not feel like an oddball.
Right.
You know that I mean, because it's tough in middle school, and so, you know, and I mean, now they're in high school.
Yeah.
So it goes fast. I mean, because I think Zoe would have been 14 when they started. So she just
Right.
turned 16, so she, hopefully she doesn't want to drive anytime soon.
Yeah, it was really. I think it's really good that they appreciate each other, and it's really really good that that you're right. Like they're able to talk to each other, you know, like that. Like they just text each other like the random silly gifs or whatever,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
all the
yeah.
time. So like that's cool. Like to have a friend like that. It kind of sucks that you guys are so far away. But
Yeah, we
at the
talked
same
about
time,
that
it is
before.
nice to have a friend, and it kind of doesn't matter anymore
Right,
now
right.
that they can just Skype each other or text each other, and it's not a big deal. If we were kids and we were on the other side of the country, like you're pen pals, and that's about it.
Right.
It cost $40 to make a 10-minute phone call.
Oh yeah, I remember, man. If you made a long distance call when I was a kid, my grandfather had a fit.
Yeah, so it's really cool now that they're able to do this. But they basically hang out weekly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You guys
Yeah.
just get to listen to the hangouts.
Yeah. And like some of the guys in the garrison, like in Maryland, they listen. The one librarian in my school district listens, and he said something to me about a month ago. He said that he feels like they found their voice, like in fandom, like like they both have kind of just come to their own in their, which is a compliment,
Right. Yeah, it is, and it's really really cool that they're able to, like, that they're so similar in age and outlook.
Right.
That they're really able to, like, because that's what makes a podcast unique. Anybody can just talk about Star Wars for an hour or two, but like, what is it that you bring to the table and your opinion and your, like, if you listen to a lot of podcasts around, they're basically a bunch of 30-year-old dudes talking about Star Wars.
Right.
And it's always the same thing. Oh, I liked the movies when I was a kid. Oh, Empire Strikes Back is the best one. So it's really cool to hear a fresh, new take, from these kids who are growing up with Star Wars right now.
Right. And yeah, and that's what like, I'm not knocking anyone that has a podcast, but what I felt with For Zoe Found Lizzy, like there's a few people that can pull off a podcast on their own, but you almost have to do it with a friend. To get that back and forth.
Yeah, it's like the personalities and the engaging of the conversation, because when you're talking by yourself, there's not a whole lot of places you can go,
Right. And the girls have gotten tons of support, like from Jonah Marie. They've had Holly Fry on, who, it's just funny because
Right.
Zoe was in her AP history class, and the professor was like, or the teacher was like, you should listen to this Stuff You Missed in History podcast. And Zoe's like, hey, I know that lady,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, man, it ended up really, really cool, and I'm still really, really kind of blown away, and also proud of their panel that they had at Celebration.
Oh, I know.
Like the way it worked out, it ended up being a real, like, they just kind of sat down and talked with their fans, and it was really, really, really cool. Like, it's good that anybody came, but the amount of people that came,
right,
and how engaged the people were in, because everybody came in, and we're, I think me and you were kind of sent out to the outside to be like, hey, there's a panel over here if anybody wants to come. But people were coming up to being like, hey, this is the Geek Girl panel, right? This is the Geek Girl panel in here? And we were like,
I know. I was expecting like some of my friends would do it. Hey, I need a place to sit, and but there was people like, I don't even know who this is,
Yeah, just people were very, very interested in hearing young girls' perspectives on Star Wars, and that's really, really cool that they're able to like tap into that audience, but also just that they're able to have that voice and be a part of that,
And I tell people, like, you and we pretty much stay out of it. Like,
right.
Like I might badger Zoe once in a while. Like I'm like, oh, you should have show notes, but and that's just me thinking, what if they don't have something to say? That never they always have something to say.
Right.
And I know at the panel I was worried. I was like, wait a minute, they don't have typed up notes in case and those girls, you would have thought that they planned it. To me, that I was so happy at that panel.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't even need it because the amount of audience interaction,
right?
Like, that was the whole show. They talked with people. They talked with their listeners and people in the audience for like an hour.
Right, I know. That hour went quick.
Yeah, it was all thoughtful questions. It wasn't like, whose outfit do you think is cuter? Like, it was really like, hey, there was a lot of like, you girls are growing up in Star Wars right now as girls. Like, and there was a lot of like, oh, when I was young,
right,
we couldn't even, talk about Star Wars, but how does it feel to be able to have this voice and to be able to say the things that you're saying? And how does it feel to be able to, be a part of Star Wars right now when it's changing so much, and the world has changed. And it's really, really, because we're thinking like, hey, our kids talk to each other once a week, and somebody downloads it and listens to them talk.
Right. Yeah. Well, and yeah, that, I mean, and I forget the woman's name now that was from Coffee with Kenobi who was there. She was the one
Melinda
asking.
Wolf.
Who was it?
Melinda Wolf.
That's right. Melinda Wolf was there, and like her story, like just hearing her, talk about what the girls were doing, that was moving to me,
Right.
And just meeting you guys at Celebration, that was
That's where the girls first met. Like it was that was like what, a year and a half in the making.
Right.
And that was one of those things that we were, we weren't, it's always kind of hard to plan a big trip like that.
Right.
But that was one of the main reasons that we were like, we have to make this happen, because this is kind of their chance, like if Celebration's going to happen every couple of years, then we got a couple of years to save up.
Yep. Well, that's what I'll be heading your way when it's in California.
I hope it's in California.
Yeah.
Sorry, as inconvenient as it is for you, I would love it to be here.
Well, I mean, because we were like, after it was, we had all the personal issues, so it kind of,
right.
But in retrospect, like when you offered for us to stay, I was like, oh man, why didn't I take up? Because I didn't know, like, I wasn't sure, like, how things were, because we were just getting to know each other too. So I was like, and I'm like I'm a stickler with, like, I just overthink stuff, and so I was like, oh man, why didn't we do that? But the girls had a blast. I mean, Zoe and Lizzy. Well, and that brings us to like another side point, is like Safi adores Axel.
Axel likes to talk to her, and they have a lot of fun together. It's really, really cool.
Yeah.
And I think they enjoy being the I feel like they both do the little like bad boy or girl, like they're like, yeah, whatever, you guys ship all you want, dude. Well, I don't know, like, how about Krennic, man? That guy's cool. Or whatever it is that they're, like, she does Ketsu, and Axel really likes doing Boba Fett, actually. That's one of his favorite costumes.
Yeah.
Is little Boba.
Well, Safi wants a custom Mando.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's project number like 15.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what Axel wanted until we just decided to do Little Boba.
Yeah.
He was like, "Oh, I'll do like my own thing," and then when we did Little Boba, he was like, "Yeah, but I don't have a helmet."
Yeah.
So that's when I got him the Django helmet.
Yeah, I remember that. I do remember that. Well, we have the new Sabine from is it Enemy Props?
Enemy Props.
And that's if anyone's listening to this and needs a Sabine helmet, that like, I'm afraid to even paint it. It looks so nice just unpainted.
Yeah. And just because you, like me, know the pain of painting a Sabine helmet.
Oh yeah. And I see that's why you've painted over some of your armor. So you're like more Mandalorian than me, because I just paint new stuff.
But even when I do, because I have made new plates.
Mm-hmm.
But even when I make new plates, I paint the old paint job underneath.
Oh.
Because when I weather it down, I like to see the other paints come out, because that's what it looks like she does. It looks like she paints on top of it. So I will make things like new chest plates and new shoulders, but I'll paint the other stuff under it and then paint on top of it, which is horrible.
Yeah.
And difficult and time consuming, but I just like the way it looks, when it all comes together.
But I mean, that's the other thing I think that the girls have in common, because like trooping, to us, we know what that means, and our people we know, but like I don't think Zoe doesn't have any friends that even come close to know what that means.
Right. Yeah. At Lizzy's school, I think some of them, like, I think she has a couple of friends that she sort of tells what she does, or maybe has shown them a picture or something, and they're like, wow, that's pretty cool. But I remember it being like last year, when she was going to this school, it was like Halloween, and she was like, oh, I think they're going to let us wear costumes. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, what are you going to do? Do you have a costume? Or you could just wear your Sabine and like win the day.
Yeah, right.
And then she was like, "Oh no, I'm not gonna do that. I don't want to wear Sabine over there." And then she was embarrassed because she wasn't sure how hardcore the costumes were gonna be.
Right,
And
right.
then I guess the first year she saw a lot of the people wearing a lot of costumes, and she was like, "Oh my god, like they go all out." So I think the next year she was like, "Oh, maybe I will do it. Maybe which is coming up. So I don't know. I don't know if she's gonna actually do it or not."
Yeah, well, Zoe did Sabine this year for her school, but
Hmm.
then Zoe's the one like 2 years ago shaved her head for a 1 day costume.
Yeah.
So, um, but yeah, like every time she wears it to school, though, I'm always like, oh man, because she wore it to school last week, and we had a big event in Virginia, and I don't have any other soft parts. I've just been reluctant in getting new ones sewed yet. And I was like, oh, I just don't get a rip in that
Yeah. Yeah.
for a Virginia troop. And then but I also was thinking too with the girls, back to their podcast. I was thinking like some of the people that have been on. Like this is this is the first time I've been on their podcast other than just saying hi when I walk by. But they've had Vanessa Marshall on, which is an awesome guest,
Right.
and the Lizzie couldn't make it, but they both had the Lego Freemakers guys on, and then some really nice people like I think Sarah Young was on.
Right.
That's the one who I think Buddy unplugged the power like twice or something. So she basically did the show 3 times.
Yeah.
And who else? The Darth. The Emperor from what's his name?
Oh, Joe.
Joe was on.
Joe Mignano,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
And they've had all the Full of Sith people on.
Right.
Mike Pilot, Brian Young, and Holly Fry. They never got Amy Radcliffe.
Right. Right.
That's the only thing I interfere with is I wind up trying to email people to get guests only because I don't want someone to feel like they have to do it because of kids emailing,
Right.
which maybe that's a bad tactic or whatever. But I never want someone. I never want to impose more than just me harassing them with emails.
Right. Right. No, that's really, really cool, and I like that. That they're able to have really, really cool conversations with these people.
Right. The Steel one was awesome. The sound was bad, and that wasn't our recording. That was his. So I would own up to my own bad recording. But the Steel one was awesome. I thought Steel was really nice with the girls.
Yeah. It was cool. They had a lot of fun, and then over here, like Lizzie ended up over summer vacation coming with me to do a few of mine.
Oh yeah, that's the best. They were awesome.
And one of them Steel was at, so we were all in the same room, and pretty funny stuff.
Yeah, the girls. I mean, the only thing I regret is when I bought the domain name and all of that, I wouldn't have made it Star Wars Geek Girls. That's my only regret. I would have had more forethought because I don't think the show would exist without both of them. So
I think they bring out a lot of good in each other, and I think it's really, really good that they keep going with this thing as long as they have.
Yeah.
And no signs of stopping anytime soon. Everybody's excited for The Last Jedi. Everybody's excited for season 4 of Rebels.
Right. Yeah, they just have to get their schedule down.
I think Zoe keeps up with the books and comics a lot more than Lizzie. But, what are you going to do?
Yeah, well, Zoe's probably behind on the comics only because, like, our comic book store is like a half hour away, and it just seems like, by the time we get there, I'm picking up like a giant stack, and then it seems like homework. Oh, here, you got to read, 20 books to catch up.
Yeah.
So I think I might go the trade paperback route, as much as I hate to say it.
Or digital.
I guess I'm just too old. I like paper.
No, I like. Well, the thing that I like about the comics is I can buy them on paper, and then it gives you the digital code. But the good thing about digital is you don't got to go nowhere.
Yeah, well, that's true. I sent a bunch of the digitals to Jonah Marie because she was behind, so I sent a bunch of the digitals. Zoe just came in and she's looking at me like she doesn't know what's going on. So she just ruined. I was just busted.
You should lock the door.
Oh yeah, she just came in like
Busted.
normally she's either downstairs watching Friends or something. So
Oh man, she's like at the end of season 10. We had to luck out that she finished Friends in the
Oh my
last episode.
yeah, if I wish you would watch Clone Wars like that. I wouldn't mind walking in from work and hearing like the Clone Wars going off, but that Friends theme is gonna be the death of me. But
Yeah, no, I don't. That happens in the house a lot as well. My
Yeah.
wife watches Friends.
I think your wife and Axel were who got my kids hooked.
Yeah.
Down at
Axel
Celebration.
likes it too, yeah. But Liz doesn't have so much time to do it. Like right now, like she's in school with everything and she's super, super busy. But like when she has free time, like that's her go-to. She'll just throw Friends on,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, that's I think I missed out on Friends for some reason. I saw like the first 4 seasons, but so,
I made a deal with Liz that I was like, okay, well, I'll watch Friends with you, but you have to beat Final Fantasy VIII.
oh okay.
And I watched all of Friends, and she never beat Final Fantasy VIII.
Well, she won then, right?
Oh yeah, she won that deal.
Are you guys getting the new Battlefront?
I really want to. I know it's coming up pretty soon. I don't know if I'm gonna get it when it comes out, but I want to get it. I need to pre-order. I just haven't done it yet.
Yeah, I think I pre-ordered it way long ago. Because last time it came out, me and a couple friends just showed up in costume, like unofficial. We just walked in. Like I was in my TK, another guy was in a AT-AT driver, and the other guy brought his R2. We just rolled in like we were just like normal customers.
Nice.
So and R2 had my stub for my game in his one arm. So when they had a raffle, and then they pulled people's names, and R2 won the giant AT-AT display.
Nice.
So
Did you get to play the beta at all when they released the beta?
Zoe was playing it. I just honestly like most of the time during the week, I just don't get the time and
Yeah.
and then so she was playing the beta, and I'm just so terrible with the online play.
Right.
Like
And
I just
that's all it was.
yeah, I just walk out, I'm dead. So
Yeah. I got to like play a little tiny bit. Like I got to basically try out. Like there were like 3 little pieces. Like there was the Fighter Squadron, and then one of the little games on Takodana, and then another level on like Feed. So I got to like try out everything, like once or twice. But that was it, because it was like during that week when I was prepping for a trip, and there was a lot to be done. I just didn't get to have free time. I wished I would have been able to have a nice weekend to sit with it and really have fun.
well, that's what people don't understand. This is our busy season's coming up, right? Like
Yeah, exactly. October's crazy.
we have October, and then as soon as it all dies down, we're gonna have Solo.
Right. Yeah, December. Well, December, usually Christmas season, there's a lot of events as well.
Oh, did Solo get moved to December?
No. Solo's going to be May.
Yeah, but I mean,
Still.
yeah, no, Christmas we'll have, and then we have a bunch of like winter events like that are just like normal, and then it comes Free Comic Book Day, and and Zoe wants like I'm 2 seasons behind in Sabine, so I got to get season 3. I like doing them in order, so I got to finish up season 3, and then the jetpack is what's driving me nuts right now, is figuring out how to mount that jetpack.
We still haven't done the jetpack.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like if I can hide straps on. Oops, sorry. If I can hide straps under the shoulder armor or the upper.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I like.
The way that a lot of the Bo-Katan and the Night Owl people, there's like these harnesses that they wear that but you have to like make holes in the shirts underneath,
Yeah.
to like get those things to connect to the jetpacks.
Right. Well, that's what I'm thinking of putting.
I suppose it makes it a little easier.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the one thing I always.
And all.
Yeah. The one thing I liked about your armor more than what I've seen on other Sabines is, and that's what when I started building Zoe's, everyone tends to make Sabine's armor too big. Like they try to make it like a Boba Fett armor.
Yeah.
Where like Sabine's is more slight. And so the backpacks, I see people are starting to make them a little too big. Where you watch the show, it's a pretty tiny,
Yeah, and it's real like fitted. Like
Yeah.
the shoulder bells really like hug her shoulders. They don't like hang off and kind of flop around like a TK shoulder. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like a TK
right.
shoulder bell, there's a lot of room underneath to fit your bicep and
Yep.
fit, like it doesn't hug. The Sabine body armor really like it fits her.
Yeah.
Fair. You know.
Yeah, well, that was cool to see all the Sabines like at Celebration. That's the first time I ever went to Celebration and the family went. So that's the first like I got looks at, because I think we only have a handful of Sabines up here in the Northeast at all.
Yeah, down here we have like there's one in Northern California that comes down for a lot of cons, and then I think there's one from like the Mandalorians, but I think she has like a custom Mandalorian and wears that a lot more often. But and then there's Maddie,
Right.
She's Galactic Academy and she always does Sabine. And when the girls show up together, they basically just like Sabine together, like they don't even worry about it.
Right.
So like if we ever see another Sabine, it's usually Maddie.
Right. Yeah. We don't. Like I said, I think we have a couple like real little ones in Delaware.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, but none like
right.
16 to 30 some age. We just went down to Virginia.
You know what? There's another guy that had a daughter that he made Sabine for.
I think,
and it's the same kind of thing. I think she's about Lizzie's age. Same teenage girl. So like every now and then, but she also has a lot of costumes, and I think she does the what does she have? She has like the Jinn with the ground crew disguise.
Oh right, okay.
So I think she usually wears that a lot more often than the Sabine.
Yeah, I'm trying to get some Heras. We met one Hera down in Virginia, but I don't think we have any Heras in this area. Maybe probably up in New York. There's probably some.
Right.
Because
that's a commitment.
Well, yeah. Would it be neat to get a crew? Like we don't have any. We don't have.
Yeah.
We met a Kanan down in Virginia, but we don't have any Kanans.
That makes it a lot more fun. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. I usually end up doing Kanan around here. There's actually one guy there's a guy who's just gotten up this past year, who does a Kanan as well. So every now and then I'm like, yeah, you take it, dude, or like we kind of switch off events every now and then.
Yeah.
But we also have we're getting a lot of clones down here.
Oh, really?
So when there's events that have a lot of clones, I usually end up switching over to Voss.
Oh, that's yeah.
Because then I can hang out with the clones,
Yeah, at the height of the Clone Wars era, like there was a lot of times when I trooped, I was like the only TK. And the girls, I mean, it's funny because I remember the first troop I did, they broadcast it on the internet. This was before YouTube. And I remember Zoe and Safi stayed up late to see me march. This was before they trooped. They were probably like 3 and 5 or 3 and 5. So
yeah.
That's the only rule I have for Zoe is when she's 18, she has to do 501st costume first. She has to be approved in the 501st before Rebel Legion or anything else.
Aw, but she's Mando.
I know, but I told her you got to do something like she always wanted to do like an ARF trooper. The camo one.
Just tell her to do the TIE Reserve Sabine.
Well, that's what she was saying. She was saying that if they came out with an animated TIE bucket, someone did, I'd probably grab it for her.
But she's worn it once or twice.
Yeah, but I'm saying I just haven't seen a good
crew kind of jumpsuit.
Yeah, I just haven't seen that. I've seen a couple people do the animated TK, but I haven't seen any animated pilots. Because I do like how they're a little like I like the regular live pilots, but they're all black. Where the colors are a little nicer on the animated because they have a grayish look to them. Like it's not true black. Yeah. I don't know. I just like the girls. They'll be hitting their 100th episode soon. Yeah. So if they keep going, and like you said, I don't see any reason why they there's many times that Zoe's I've come home. She's like, oh yeah, we recorded a podcast. So that's what I like to hear. And now they had the girl from the Elven Padawan or something on. So now they have like a younger generation of podcast girls, like kind of like Jonah Marie was like their person they looked up to, and
Yeah. Yeah, it's really, really, really cool. I think Jonah Marie was on her show,
yeah,
the Elven Padawans, not too long ago as well.
yeah,
Yeah, so that's really cool that there's a lot of like fresh faces popping up in the podcast world, you know.
right. Oh yeah, and honestly, I think in general, the podcast people in general have been really good to the girls. Like
Yeah.
like I've reached out to a bunch. Like I know the girl from Dorky Diva did their show.
Mm-hmm.
I know the guys from the Star Wars Report said they would. It's just some people are just harder to track down.
Right.
You know. So I figure once the girls get into a semi, normal routine, which with teenage girls is pretty much impossible, but
Yeah.
it's easier to get them guests. But they seem, they don't need guests, which is even nicer.
Yeah. That's good.
Until we get Axel and Safi's off the ground.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I think they're excited to talk to each other.
Yeah, well, I got to decide if I just want to throw it in the Star Wars Geek Girl feed, or see if I get another feed.
Mm-hmm. Maybe we can start it off in the feed, and then
See how it
if
goes.
it keeps going consistently, then kind of like break it off into its own thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, because I know most people just put everything in the same feed, unless they have, now everyone's doing the, like Making Star Wars has the big group of podcasts.
Right.
But I don't know. I'm learning. Like I said, I finally bought a mixing board. That was Mike Pilot. Shout out to him. He walked me through how to fix the sound, and
Right on.
so, because he only lives like 45 minutes from here.
Oh, okay.
Which is
That's cool.
it's weird because it goes back to I'm so glad the girls found each other. It's weird how Star Wars and podcasting and all of that, like you and I would have never met.
Right.
I mean, and the girls would have probably never met.
Right. Yeah, definitely. We would have just taken a picture together at a celebration sometime,
Yeah,
and that's it.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, no, but that was a lot of fun. Like, especially, them just going back to celebration real quick and the girls actually meeting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That was really, really cool and worth it. And Axel and Safi meeting, too.
Yeah.
They seem to have a lot of fun together.
Well, you got to remember, Safi's one of those people that have known her whole life probably haven't heard her speak a whole sentence. You know what I mean? Like, she's just naturally quiet, like, all the time.
Right.
And her and Axel, they were having a blast. And, I still remember Axel's rules to what we were playing, pool, I think, or something. We were playing with the pool table, or foosball. He had his own rules for whatever game we were playing. That was fun.
Right.
And,
yeah, and he's like the opposite. He doesn't shut up.
yeah. You see, Safi doesn't mind that because she's grown up around Zoe.
Right.
Yeah, they met. They didn't get hit by a car, which was nice.
Oh, yeah, definitely good.
That was
luckily, we met on a small street.
Yeah.
It wasn't very busy at that time.
And I think I don't know if it was that Sunday or maybe when I was just following around. It was a group of people. I think you guys when we were looking for loft cats or something. That whole adventure.
Yeah.
I just had fun watching the girls and everyone just walking around. Like I was just like snapping pictures of the girls. Because like you would have thought they grew up together.
Was a little bit more kickback. Yeah. Because like Saturday was the busy day with all the Rebel stuff happening, and like that was what we knew.
Yeah.
Was gonna be tough, and then Sunday was like the day get some shopping done and find some wildcats, and we were trying to hook up with all of our friends who we hadn't quite seen yet. Us like some of I think at that time we were looking for some of my buddies from Texas.
Yeah.
Who came and met up with us. And it was cool just to hang out on the floor, just to walk around, and like, I think Lizzy was in her, like I was wearing Kanan, and Kanan's actually, season 3 Kanan is a pretty comfy costume.
Yeah.
And then I think
Zoe was in Sabine.
Yeah, Zoe was in Sabine, because then she kept going up to Lizzy and being like, everybody thinks I'm you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, because Saturday it seemed like with the panel, because remember that was like they couldn't find a person to take us to our room. That's the only time I think I felt really important in a long time is when I showed that guy the email from Mary Franklin, and then he's like, "Okay, we'll get you a room right now."
Right. Oh yeah, for the girls panel and everything.
Yeah, he was like, so.
Yeah. Yeah, that was cool. That was cool. Glad everything worked out. And I'm glad everybody, like, it's really, really cool to see the girls, friendship kind of like take root,
Right. Well, and if Zoe has her plans the way she plans, she'll probably be out seeing you guys when she graduates because still wants to go to film school. So.
Oh, okay.
That's her. We actually just took her to an independent film thing last night. We've been trying to get her more into see independent stuff.
Right.
Because you can't go from like graduating from film school to making Star Wars. You have to,
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's cool. That's really, really cool.
And
Lizzy wants to go. She's looking up a few.
Hang on, I lost you.
Around, so I didn't switch kids.
Yeah, right. Well, no, I'm sorry. She's looking. It cut off. She's looking where?
I think she said like Rhode Island.
Oh yeah.
Was where one of the places is.
Oh, you know what? Because when I graduated from school, before I went to college, I wanted to work restaurant. I worked in the restaurant business, and I was like every chef's nightmare. I was like the untrained chef that they hired because they didn't have to pay me any money. But I remember there was some school in Rhode Island that they were talking about sending people to, and that was like 30 years ago. But
right on.
Yeah, well, the guys from Rebel Cause that they had on, I think 2 shows ago, and they mentioned on their show, but the father's a filmmaker and the son's a chef. And they do do a little podcast and out of Lancaster. It's a really good podcast. I mean, he's another. I would say out of the people I know, and I just met him. It's you and me, this guy Jake who raises his son with Star Wars, and then Mike Pilot is pretty. That's like the people I see that like just kind of surround their kids with Star Wars, but don't force them to do Star Wars.
Yeah, it's cool.
So, well, I think we've talked about their podcast. We probably talked more about other stuff that wasn't their podcast, and I don't, like I said, I don't see any future where they're not doing this.
Doesn't look likely.
And so, if someone's listening to this, please rate their show on iTunes. That I can't seem to get. How do we get people to rate them on iTunes? Do we need free gifts?
Ask them nicely. Give us 5-star reviews. Give them 5-star reviews for all their wonderful talkingness. Yeah, I don't know.
But the girls like it no matter what. But
yeah, just make sure to tell the internet that you like it.
Yes, please tell the internet, because this is, like I said, this is 2 years, which is pretty. When I look at podcasts out there, they've gotten past that point of like failing.
Yeah. Those ones that kind of just start up and you're 20 episodes in, they're done.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. They're well past that.
And I think we've gotten 90% of the technical difficulties out.
Cool.
We'll see. So.
If this show makes it out there, 92%.
Right. Yeah, that's I at least have green lights moving when we're talking, and the record button's red. So,
from what we've heard, that's a very good sign.
Right. So, but any closing words from you, or where people can find you?
No, I can't wait to see what they do next. I can't wait to hear their next show. It's always a lot of fun hearing the girls talk, without me sitting there. If you're looking for our family, we're the Rogue Rebels. We have a little website at theroguerebels.com. We put like little costume things and podcasts and all kinds of little stuff that might be interesting to you if you are interested in us. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Sal and Mike Music. So reach out if you feel the need to do so. And that's it.
Awesome.
Oh, I also podcast with Now This Is Podcasting.
Right. That's
for Make Star Wars.
Yeah, and that's probably one of my main ones in my rotation that I listen to, because that's what I was going to add.
If you're a usual listener of this podcast, mine might not be for you.
Yeah, it is. It's a little more adult theme, right. Not adult just you're not going to listen to it in the car with your kids, probably. Because And the other thing is, I did forget to mention on this one was, like, I don't even edit their show for them. Like, I try, unless they tell me to, I throw the music at the front and the back and then put it up. Because, again, I want it to be their show and not what I think their show should be.
Right.
So.
That's good.
But, yeah, you can't really find me anywhere unless you look up Mike Hinton on Facebook, but I run the Star Wars Geek Girl Facebook for Zoe. She tells me, stuff to put on, or sometimes I'll put stuff on. And then Star Wars Geek Girl's website. I think Zoe mainly does the Twitter feed. And I think that's about it. If you're going to any trooping events in Pennsylvania and there's a Sabine there, chances are it's Zoe. And if Southern California, if they see the Ghost Crew, it's the Rogue Rebels. And now you have a new dog. Did you name your dog yet?
I think his name is Boba.
Oh, okay.
So but I call him the clone.
Ah.
I call it the Beast and the Clone.
Yeah, because people that listen probably know our dogs more than we do, because
yeah,
I think all of our dogs have either been a guest or destroyed the show at least once.
Right. The Beast's name they call him Bingo. And the little thing, I don't know what they call the little thing, but I think they were going to call it Boba, because he's like basically a clone of the Beast.
Nice.
So I just call it the Beast and the Clone.
I was picturing a Zeb costume to go with Victoria.
I'm going to see, they don't get along yet, but I'm going to see if they get along. I'll just put one on top of the other's head, and it'll look like the little Loth cat on top of the Loth wolf.
Oh, right.
See if they can get that going.
Well, I guess that's good night for us.
I think so.
And we almost got through it without Zoe finding out. So.
I just tell her to be quiet.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm gonna try to get it up because I think they're recording tomorrow. So the new episode of the actual Star Wars Geek Girl is being recorded tomorrow. So I'm gonna try to get it up before they have the recordings. Right? Nice talking to you.
Yeah.